All right, what we're watching today, I'm really interested in. I think it'll be a very interesting watch. We are watching Our Original Inhabitants. Now, when I first read this, I thought this was going to be about Native Americans, but actually, this is by the Ministry of Information Films Division, which, if you remember, the Ministry of Information was India's propaganda arm, not America's propaganda arm. So what we're learning about today, I assume, are the original inhabitants of India, which I think will be very interesting. I don't know next to nothing about this subject, so I think I'll be learning a lot today. Publication date 1953, so this is a good oldie. I think we will have a lot of fun with this one. So let's dive in. Alright, so I always make a comment about the music in these because it's true, I do love the music, but this music specifically is different than most of the other music that we've listened to through like the Indian programs anyway, so I'm curious. It feels like they're trying to set a different tone. Like usually the Indian music is like really upbeat, whereas what we're listening to right now is kind of like mysterious or sneaky or something. It's like a different like mood of Indian music, which is really interesting, especially for me. I've only ever heard like really happy Indian music, I feel like. So to hear like weird kind of creepy Indian music is another fun experience. I'm curious why Our Original Inhabitants is receiving the weird, spooky Indian music versus the regular, like, patriotic Indian music, you know? Oh man, I love the fonts they use too, because this is not in, like, the original, like, font book that Americans had, at least. This looks like a handmade font of sorts, or at least like a custom font. Our Original Inhabitants. Like, yeah, just like the art style, the graphic design. Oh man, I don't know. I really could just spend hours like unpacking all this stuff. What's interesting about this font actually does look like Sanskrit or whatever Hindi language is written in, like it does actually, even though it's, the Latin alphabet, it definitely looks Indian. All right, let's read these names real quick too. All right, so we have the producer Bavarandi, I don't know, photography. What's interesting is I always try to think if these are the same guys every time, right? For all the Ministry of Information programs, if it's the same guys or not. And I think it's different people every time. I think I would recognize these names by now if it were like the same people, like Isar or something. Like I feel like I would remember those guys. And the fact that it's not, I don't know, it's interesting. Shout out to all these guys. Photography, who's doing the voice? Commentary, Berkeley Hill, interesting. Berkeley Hill, editing, R.G. Gore. So, I don't know, music direction, interesting. All right, so music direction, Shirali. All right, that's who we have for, photography, Dari Mystery. Okay. Everyone got their credit reads out of the way? All right, good. Let's keep going.
India is a land of many peoples.
Oh man, before we even get started, I gotta just critique this guy's audio quality. There's just a huge echo in the room that he's recording in. I get criticized for this sort of thing all the time on Atlas Pro. So I'm glad to hear other people making the same mistake. Oh man, we gotta go back to the credits and see who's responsible for this audio quality right now. Hang on. Whose fault is it? Whose fault? Music direction? Is it him or no? It's sound recording. That's who it is. It's PK Vishwarath's fault that we're listening to some not great audio quality right now. Or at least that's what I imagine. I don't know. I don't want to blame him specifically.
India is a land of many peoples. A myriad blend of races, religions, and cultures.
A myriad blend of races, religions, and cultures. See, that is so fascinating because it's true. India, it just has so many different sorts of people in it that, like, I don't know, it's perfectly true, I guess. I feel like people outside of India do not appreciate or understand or even have the ability to fathom, like, how diverse this place really is. Which is why we're here watching what we're watching right now.
Forming a mosaic that is complex but colorful.
Complex but colorful, I like that. Yeah, look at everyone's clothing too, so that's so fascinating. So there are people wearing like more westernized outfits like these ladies and their son, but then there's also people wearing just like what I can only imagine is the traditional garb of whatever place he's exactly from. Like this guy, like, I don't know, maybe oh no, he's wearing he's wearing like a wool vest. Like, that's a really funny choice of attire for like a place that I imagine is like really hot, you know, for somebody to be wearing a wool vest, like you really have to be like used to the heat, I guess, to be wearing something like that. Maybe it's chilly here though. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know exactly where in India we're talking about. Maybe it's a little cold here. I guess this is just not the most traditional form of attire for Indian people. Maybe it is though. Indian people could have had vests for thousands of years for all I know.
Some of the lesser known facets of this remarkable mosaic are the original inhabitants of our land.
The original inhabitants. See, this is what I'm so curious about. Like, who are the original inhabitants of India? I find it so interesting that Indian people are willing to admit that they're not the original inhabitants. From an American perspective, like, because there was a very clear removal of the indigenous people and then a replacement with like white people, that feels like very cut and dry. Like there are original inhabitants. Whereas India, I just feel like India's had such a long history, and there have been several new waves of people entering. Like it's not just like Indians one day showed up to India. It's like, oh, this group of people showed up to India, and then this group of people showed up to India, and then this people arrived in India. So it's a much more like complex claim to be the original inhabitant of India, because there are just so many different original inhabitants of India. Like, are we talking about the Dravidians or the Tamil people? I don't even know. I don't even know who we're actually focusing on as the original inhabitants. So again, this should be a lot of fun. This should be very interesting. I hope I learn a lot about India today.
Numbering some 25 million.
All right, hang on. So are the guys that we're looking at right now, are these like the indigenous people or the original inhabitants, I guess? I don't know. Let's learn. Is that a freaking human skull on his necklace, though? Hang on. Look at the guy. Look at the necklace this guy's wearing. No, that's like a lion or a tiger skull. Never mind. That's not a human skull, at least.
Original inhabitants of our land, numbering some 25 million.
Then 25 million original inhabitants, whatever that means. So that's, again, compared to America, there's just not nearly that number of Native American people here. And there haven't been for a very long time. So it's just like, again, it's a very different situation, even though like that's what I'm going to use to, I guess, understand all this information through. Like, I'm going to understand it as like a native colonizer kind of situation, just because that's my American lens for you. But I guess, I don't know, that's a lot more people than I guess here in America that we consider, you know, original inhabitants. But also look at these people. I just want to spend some time to appreciate like the culture, the traditions of these people. Like they have these nose gauges. I have never in my life seen these nose gauges. Like I've seen the ear gauges, but they actually put a hole in your nose to make it a gauge. This is like, I'm sorry, but this is bizarre. Like I really mean to be respectful. But I feel like even my Indian viewers are like, yeah, we don't all do that, you know? Like, this is a very specific tribe, I have a feeling, or clan, or whatever you want to call them. A very specific group of people in India do this sort of thing. I hope we learn more about these specific sort of people. I hope we actually get to like learn about specific groups and not just like get every single different indigenous group for like 1 second. Because I feel like India does have enough like original inhabitant group sorts of people that like you can just show me like one a minute and like that's it. But like I really hope we get to learn like what is their culture, what are their practices, what's the meaning behind their nose gauges, you know? Like that's the sort of stuff I want to learn, not just seeing weird images of people, you know?
Belonging to 172 different groups.
172 different indigenous groups. See, that's comparable to here in the Americas. I bet there's probably even more here in the Americas, but that is still like, especially in a place like India, 172, that's just indigenous groups. That's not even just like the main population of India too. That's just like weird fringe like subgroups of Indians, you know, like that's a lot of different groups of original inhabitants, I should say. I think this guy's hair is hilarious too. This guy in his turban looks like real proper and everything, but this guy without the turban, like I get why they wear the turbans now. Like, or I don't know if that's a turban actually. I should say a headdress. This guy without the headdress, his hair looks like the hair of like a teenager in America, whereas the rest of him does not, obviously.
And scattered throughout the length and breadth of our subcontinent.
Oh wow, we have some Indian women wearing their traditional clothing as well. See, the women, or the stuff that women wear in India is just so amazing. I feel like more so than the men, like tenfold, you know? Like this is so ornate and beautiful, and then the guys are just wearing like white rags, you know? Like I don't know. maybe I'm just judging everything too quickly, but I feel like I spend a lot of time appreciating like fashion history for like the American history side of things, but yeah, I have no ability to appreciate Indian fashion besides thinking that it looks really cool. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm here just appreciating, all right?
In all this seeming diversity, there is an underlying unity, a unity that is fortified by the Indian Constitution.
A unity that's fortified by the Indian Constitution. So that's what I was saying earlier. This is definitely still Indian propaganda. Like we are still being taught to be patriotic and proud of the country of India, which at this point is only like 50 or 53, like 6 years old at this point. Like this is a very, very new India. So what we're seeing is that even the indigenous people are being taught or trying to be taught to be proud of India as a whole because everyone is so diverse, which again is a good message. It's not like this propaganda is necessarily evil or anything. It's still just trying to convince you to be patriotic for a nation. It's a balance. It's not bad, but it's not. You just have to be able to recognize it. And once you do that, you can see straight through it. But it is interesting that even at the very beginning of India's like nationhood, I guess, like they are trying to be inclusive towards their like indigenous or original inhabitants. That's nice to see, I guess.
Custodians of ancient cultures, these people inhabit the less frequented regions of our land.
These people inhabit the less frequented regions of their land, which is so funny from like an American context because like to me everywhere in India seems frequented like so much, you know, like it's hard for me to imagine there are just like weird corners of India where nobody ever goes except for this one tribe, you know, like to me it just seems like there's so many people everywhere that there's no hiding. I guess there's enough room in India for people to just have their completely unique cultural traditions and stuff, which is really cool. Again, it's cool.
They have retreated before the march of civilization.
They have retreated before the march of civilization. See, this now we're getting into like the weird, like these people are inferior to us though, kind of. I don't want to assume that or anything. That's a weird statement. They ran away from the march of civilization. I guess that's an interesting statement in the context of like India as a country especially, because like the march of civilization, I feel like that's such a British connotation to it. Like it feels like half of India is like accepting like modern technology or like civilization. So they're trying to like go forward and embrace all the new technology, all of industrialization and everything. But yet there's still so much of the traditional way in India. There's still so much of the traditional world, the traditional beliefs and everything that it must be so difficult to like get people on board to do something in India, no matter what it is, you know, because there are people who are looking forward and people who are looking back. India is just such a crazy place, I guess. I really need to go there before I actually make statements like this. So let's just keep watching.
But they live on because it is said that the tribe which dances does not die.
The tribe which dances does not die. That's another really good phrase. Oh man, so much could be said about that too. Oh yeah. The tribe that dances never dies. There you go. That's like, that's all you need really. And there is like truth to that. I feel like dancing is kind of like, I don't know, an imitation reproduction ritual. Like it's all kind of just a mating ritual at the end of the day, which I feel like India is well accustomed to.
But behind a festive facade is a grim tale of suffering and privation.
A grim tale of suffering and privation? Okay, so there actually is a sad story to tell here. I thought this was all gonna be like sunshine and lollipops. I'm not glad that there's a sad story here, obviously, but I am glad that we're getting to learn the sad story. That's what I'm happy about.
Past exploitation has almost vanquished them.
Past exploitation. So that's so interesting. So yeah, the original inhabitants of India have been exploited for like thousands of years at this point. That's just, I don't know, that's so interesting. Obviously it's horrible, but from like a human history psychology level, that is like very interesting still, I feel.
Exploitation by greedy moneylenders and grasping landlords.
Greedy moneylenders and grasping landlords. That's so funny too because like, I don't know, some things don't change, I guess. Doesn't matter if it's India or America or anywhere else. It's just greedy landlords all the way down. And grubby moneylenders too. Like who's lending all this money? Like I'm glad India has dealt with moneylenders and landlords the same way everyone else has. I wonder if this is a real argument that this peasant and this landlord are having, or are these guys just actors? They must just be actors. I have to stop falling for that sort of stuff.
To eradicate such evils, a tribal welfare conference was held.
The Tribal Welfare Conference, that's what's being held right now. See, again, very interesting. And at least from my perspective, it feels like the Indian government is like making an effort to accommodate the native people or the indigenous people. I don't know what to call them, because are they native? I guess they're all native though. I don't know. I don't know what you call the original inhabitants of India, if not natives. It's weird. I wonder how Indian people deal with this. Do they say they're natives, or is everyone native in India? Because everyone else is also native. Like, it's not like there are no non-natives in India. It's just confusing, I guess. It's not as clear-cut as it is here in America, who's native and who's not native, Which I guess is very interesting still. Well, let's keep watching.
Held in Delhi on June the 7th, 1952. The President stated our Constitution guaranteed fundamental rights to the tribals, and that the government must uphold these rights by special measures.
What are these fans? Do you see these like fans that are mounted on poles? That's funny. That's just a little forgotten piece of history right there. The floor mounted ceiling fans. I don't blame them though. I can only imagine how hot it is in that room.
The hilly jungle tracts of central India.
The hilly jungle tracts of central India. Okay, so is this where like all the natives are? I know like southern India is a lot like, I don't want to say less tame, a lot less like Hindi, I guess, is probably the more logical thing to say. I know like the Hindi people kind of stayed in the middle of India, whereas the Dravidians and the Tamil people, and I probably a lot more of the indigenous or more to the south, they had nowhere else to go really, so they just stayed there. I wonder if that's what we're learning about right now.
Are inhabited by Gonds.
So they're inhabited by Gonds. Interesting. So this is the first tribe that we're kind of learning about by name. Interesting. Oh man, do they have the neck things? No way, the neck rings. Crap. We gotta see this. Yeah, look at them. They have the neck rings. That's so funny. Hang on. These neck rings don't look like kept. I don't know. Is that weird to say? Like all the neck rings that I've seen have all been like perfectly stacked, whereas these are kind of just jumbled into like a bunch of, I don't know, like a pile of hoops on your neck. I don't know. I always saw the neck rings as like very orderly. This doesn't look like that. So I wonder if this is like the same tribe, a different tribe maybe. Maybe, one tribe has really ornate, specific neck rings, another one doesn't. I don't know. I really can't tell because I've never seen these like metal fezzes or whatever they're wearing on their heads either. Interesting though. Very interesting. I'm already excited about this. Hang on, what's in this woman's ear? Do you guys see this too? Looks like she's got something planned for later behind her ear. Am I the only one? In the comments, let me know what this is behind this woman's ear in the comments.
In their small villages, they live a simple life. Agriculture.
And I feel like there is no simpler life than just getting water every day. Like, I feel like if there's one thing that American women could be forced to do that would like improve their outlook on life, it's walking 4 hours every day for water. That will just change your whole perspective on life, is getting water every day.
Culture is their mainstay.
Are these shots like legitimate shots? Like, are these actual action shots of like native people or whatever you want to call them, like living out their regular lives? Or are these like directed shots where somebody is telling these people, all right, go sift through this stuff because I want this shot now? How much of this is actually day in the life of, random Indian peasant, and how much of this is like constructed for our viewing pleasure? I never know the answer to that, but I have to keep it in my mind at all times.
Excitement comes on market day. They think nothing of trudging 20 miles to buy and sell their wares.
Trudging 20 miles to buy and sell their wares. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, a nice 20-mile walk every day will definitely change your outlook on life. For the positive, I imagine. At least for me. I'm ashamed to admit I do not walk 20 miles every day. So this is interesting. So we're watching all these women holding all these chickens. I'll say chickens for now. All these chickens. I wonder what's happening right now. I feel like even though we're learning about them through the narration, I'm not actually understanding what I'm seeing.
They make every bargain clear and plain, so that none afterwards may complain.
Well, at least I know the chickens aren't acting. I think they're being legitimate. See, this girl, I don't know what this is mean to say. This girl looks like Zendaya, though. Like, I don't know. That's what's so fascinating about these original inhabitants of India, is that they do look like specific. I don't know. They look different than like regular Indian people, too. I don't know if that's good to say or bad to say, but like, they definitely have their own specific looks, I guess.
And when the day's work is done, a refreshing draught of Landa, the home-brewed beer.
Oh, they have beer too? That's awesome. I wonder what their village beer tastes like. That can anyone tell me? Does it taste like normal beer? That would be so disappointing if like you get all the way to this village and you drink their like traditional beer and it just tastes exactly like Bud Light. Like I would like for it to taste some sort of Indianness. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but like, I don't know. I'm so curious what their beer tastes like, I guess. Can somebody find me some villager beer from India and send it to me?
The Madhya dances are among the most...
Is this another tribe, the Maya dances? What he said, that sounded like a different tribe's name. So this, is it even right to refer to these people as a tribal people? What are they? Is it a clan? I don't know. It's not like a full nation yet. I guess tribes. I'm just going to keep calling them tribes. That's the word I have in my head. But I don't know if that's correct or not. Don't hate me in the comments if it's not.
Are among the most picturesque in India.
This is a very interesting, like, garb that these guys are wearing while drumming. They're wearing what, to me, looks like Viking helmets. Obviously, they're not Viking helmets, but it's, I don't know, it's very interesting to see the two-horned helmets on their dance attire, I guess. It's very interesting.
Bison horns grace the heads of the males, whose faces are...
Bison horns grace the heads of the males. Interesting. So it's like it's a masculine thing, I guess. Interesting.
Hidden by strings of tiny shells.
It's also funny to see in traditional societies like this, just the men being required to dance the same as women, you know, like not the same style or the same like pattern as women, but like to dance in the same like, I don't know, area and the same sort of like, yeah, dance circle as women. I don't know. It's funny. It's just, I guess it's different than American. I guess it's not that different. It's just, there's no like huge dance circle like this anywhere in America where like all the women that you ever knew growing up just sit in a circle around you as you dance, you know, like there's no situation like that. Yeah, like this is just a social situation that I am unaccustomed to entirely, which again, not a bad thing or anything, just important to note the differences. I'm also curious how important the dance steps really are, because I don't want to be too harsh on these girls, but it did not look like they were all dancing in rhythm with one another. So I'm curious if that's like important to the dance at all, or if that's just like, I don't know, if that's just my Western mind unable to comprehend their, you know, tribal dance moves. I don't know. It could be for all I know. Kind of looks like they're just making it up as they go along. That could just be me again, but like, I don't know if this is a really like rehearsed dance session we're watching right now. But again, that goes back to like the filming of this, right? Like, did the filmmakers just get to witness this tribal dancing, or did the filmmakers make this tribe dance for them and then they captured it? Like, are these women unprepared because they didn't expect to be doing this, or are they unprepared because that's just my perception of it and really they are prepared? I never have answers to this sort of stuff when I'm watching. I have to wait like weeks until you guys write comments before I know the answers to any of this.
Harvest's end is proclaimed with a festival called Madai. They assemble in one village, a few days later in another, to sing and dance far into the night.
Yeah, I can't imagine just doing this far into the night either. Again, I know that's like a cultural thing because obviously, like I've gone to go dance with my friends all night, too, in a certain sense. But like, I don't know, just to be here with everyone, this is just so wild to me. It seems I just want to experience it. I guess I feel like once I do that, I'll understand. But until then, like I just can't understand a whole tribe dancing together all night. It's just so bizarre. And bizarre in a good way. It's nice to see sort of way. I don't mean to say it like that. It's a cultural difference, I guess, that I'm noting.
This is also the opportunity for a Maria Beau or Belle to choose a mate.
A Mario, bull, or bell. So I don't know. Are they using the animal words to describe these guys? I don't know. Again, weird vibes a little, but I feel like that's a fine thing to do. So this sort of is like just another mating ritual then, right? If the boys and the girls are trying to find a mate by doing this, then yeah, totally just like, that's all tribal dancing. That's all dancing really is just finding a mate. So that would make total sense. I would actually be surprised if that weren't the case here,
Also great lovers of music are the Santhals.
Also great lovers of music are the Santhals. All right, so this is the Santhals, the Southern Californians. I like that, but I don't think that's what it means. But all right, the Santhals. So this is our third tribe that we're really getting a close look at. This is actually what I kind of asked for. I did want like a little in-depth look, but to be honest, we have only gotten like a minute per tribe. So I guess it is and it isn't at the same time.
Also great lovers of music are the Santhals, the second largest group in India.
The second largest group in India. That's interesting. And is it talking about largest in terms of only the tribes or in all of India, including like Hindis and whatever else, Like, is this the second largest ethnic group of India or the second largest, like, indigenous group of India? Probably indigenous group. That's what I imagine. I've never heard of this group, so I imagine it's the second largest indigenous group, though.
He is warning them that there's a hunting expedition afoot. Hunting is in their blood, and every male keeps a bow and arrow handy.
Oh man, we're doing more tiger hunting, it sounds like. Yep, there we go. There's the tiger. Yep. I guess we learned about tiger hunting in India in a recent video, but here we are again.
They're skilled archers and equally fearless.
Skilled archers, they say, as like a line full of archers fires arrows at this tiger, not just one, like a whole, like 8 of them.
Santhals are to be found in Bihar, Orissa, Bengal, and Assam.
Orissa, Bengal, and Assam. All right, so they're in like the east. They're all the way over there in India. Interesting. So that's different than those other guys in the center of India. Okay, interesting. I hope my Indian viewers at least appreciate that I'm familiar with Indian like geography. Like I know where Assam is over by Bangladesh and Bengal, all that sort of stuff. Like I know at least the basics, I think.
Their villages are as clean as they are attractive.
As clean as they are attractive. That's either really nice words or really mean words, depending on the circumstances, I guess. But again, that sort of like phrase to just like call all these women attractive is just like, I don't know, that definitely is a leftover of an old era of just like, I guess like misogyny. It's so funny that the misogyny existed here in India as well as in the American programs. Like that sort of statement would be heard in like the same American programs all day. Like, I don't know, we aren't so different after all, I guess.
Formerly a nomadic people, many Santhals now live by agriculture.
It's interesting that they say many of these guys now live by agriculture because that implies that at like a certain point in Indian history, like this tribe or this, group of people were like more hunter-gatherers. It feels like that's what is the implication by saying, oh, now these guys are farmers because, it feels like, oh, they used to not be farmers, but now they are. That's kind of what I'm getting from it, at least.
The women are experts at weaving mats from the leaves of date palms, while the men excel at making ropes of jute.
It is kind of funny that even though there is like a gendered workplace environment or whatever, like they are still sort of doing pretty much the same thing. Like the women are weaving like mats and the guys are weaving like rope, Like, I don't know if that's like an Indian thing. Like mats are more what women weave and ropes are more what men weave. But like to me as like a Westerner American, like weaving in general is like the feminine task or whatever. So I don't know. It's just again, it's a cultural difference that I think is interesting and worth noting. It's just that like in this society, everyone has to weave. Sometimes it's rope, sometimes it's mats, but like everyone weaves here. Maybe the same was true in America back in the 50s as well, but certainly not anymore. I don't know how to weave at all. Look at him. He's just making rope too. Like this is so impressive to me too. Like he is just making like a perfectly woven rope, just like with his hands as fast as like a machine ever could too. Like, yeah, it is impressive. Good for him. I bet they use this rope as well.
The Bhills were originally huntsmen, but now they're farmers heading...
Oh, they are originally huntsmen. That's what I was saying. Is this the same tribe or is this a different tribe now? Because this guy kind of looks like he's wearing something different.
The Bhills were originally...
Dude, I love this little like shot of this guy shooting his bow too. Like you can tell he's not actually like aiming at anything. They just needed the shot of him shooting it. And like, I don't know, there's just something so funny about like, okay, now pull it back. All right, shoot. All right, we got the shot. You know, like that's all this is. Like that's all we just watched. Like he's not hunting anything or anything, you know? But he does look good. He in this little outfit, like he definitely looks different than any of the other tribes people. I don't know if he's just like a richer person in India, like that's why he has this sort of clothing, or if this is just like the traditional garb of some other tribe.
Bhills were originally huntsmen, but now they're farmers having practiced agriculture for the past 150 years.
See, that's so crazy to me, having practiced agriculture for the past 150 years. So you're telling me that like for the past few thousand years, this group of people were hunter-gatherers in India, but they just like were recently convinced to switch over to agriculture. Like these people are in the middle of like the Neolithic revolution or something. Like it feels wrong to say that, to like compare them to ancient peoples, but like that's just so mind-blowing that like some tribes are just now, in this time at least, switching over to agriculture from like traditional hunter-gatherer societies, you know? Like I want to speak even more about that, but I don't know if I have the language to describe like how fascinating that is to me.
The Bhills number just over...
And the fact that like other people in India were farming for those like 3,000, 4,000 years. You know, like some people, like that information has been in India for like as long as India has existed, but some people just like never started farming. I don't know, like the more I think about it, the crazier it is that some people just never farmed in India for like the past 1,000 years. Like, and then they just started. Like that's the craziest part. I hope somebody in the comments writes like a really long response as to why that's so interesting, because I wish I could, but I just can't right now. Not off the top of my head, at least.
2 million, and reside in the remote regions of Bombay State and Rajasthan.
Just 2 million? Like, again, like the numbers in India are insane. Like, yeah, just this like small random group that no one's ever heard of. Just 2 million of them living over here. It blows my mind every time. Like,
Bombay State and Rajasthan.
Hang on, what was the word I was looking for, though? I was looking for a word.
The Bhills number just over 2 million and reside in the remote regions of Bombay State and...
The remote regions of Bombay State? Like, isn't Bombay like one of the biggest cities? It's not Bombay anymore, it's Mumbai, but isn't that like the biggest city in all of India? Like, how is it remote? Aren't there like 40 million people in like Mumbai alone? Like, how could there be any place near that that's remote?
Rajasthan. Their exotic clothes and ornaments, however, highlight their pride and spirit.
No, it looks like everyone's wearing this interesting outfits too. That is cool. So it is just like a different tribe wears different stuff. Again, I kind of wish we were going into like the specifics of, oh, what are these hats called? Why do they wear them? How do they fold them? But like, then this would be way too long. So I get why we're kind of just glazing over all these people. But like, there's interesting stories everywhere in these tribal people, and I want to know them all. But we don't have time right now. But I want to learn. That's why we're going to learn more later in this channel's history. Trust me. But like, I'm so curious already. So hang on, what's going on here? He's pouring rice in the air? I don't know what's happening. Maybe they're like separating, like maybe the wind will blow part of the shells away or the grass or whatever is caught in this thing, and then the rice will fall. Maybe that's what they're doing. Again, sometimes they just show shots of things in India that I imagine are like really regular in India, that they don't need to explain it at all. But because I'm not Indian, like I have no understanding of what's going on. I feel like I understand what's going on here, but like I'm only barely. And then this woman is like grinding all these down to like a flour of some sort. Interesting. Again, the freaking outfits that she's wearing though, like so sick, like so cool looking. Like all the guys are just wearing their like white undies, but all these women are wearing like these fantastic dresses and everything. It's just, I don't know, like it feels weird. It feels uneven to say the least. I'm glad this woman's having a good time though. Like it's always so interesting when people actually seem happy all this time ago, you know? Like I don't know, like obviously people have always been happy. It's nice. I guess it's nice to see that like some people living simple lives are just happy, you know? All right, so my question is, are these robes that these women are wearing, are these like warm? Are they like sweating under these? Or are they like, oh, thank God I'm in these robes and the sun isn't hitting me? You know, like I'm so curious. I'm so curious if they are actually comfortable wearing this sort of stuff. Because to me, it seems so awful to be wearing that amount of like clothing in a place as hot as I imagine India is. But again, like it might be so hot that it's actually better to not have the sun hitting your skin. I imagine it's crazy humid here as well. That could just be me, but I imagine it's very humid.
A pleasant people, their love of dancing becomes apparent.
A pleasant people. Again, like, I don't know. I always disagree with when like native people are described as like, oh, this certain group of people's a good people, you know? Like, I don't know. Like even that, like, it suggests that certain other groups aren't so good or something. I'm always alerted to that sort of language, I guess. Not that it is bad in this sort of context. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But like, I don't know, just in general, like saying, oh, this entire group of people acts a certain way is like not a good thing to ever really do. But I guess that's just stereotyping, so yeah.
On every festive occasion. This one's in celebration of Holi, the great Indian...
Oh, no way, they're celebrating Holi or Holi, whatever, that's awesome. Oh, you know what? It'd probably be no fun at all to watch that on this black and white program, but Holi is a lot of fun. If it's the same Holi I'm thinking about, then they're about to have a lot of fun.
Festival.
Are these the guys we have to thank for Holi, or is that like a whole Indian sort of holiday thing? I don't know, like he said Holi, not Holly, so it might not be the same thing, but I imagine it's the same thing. It's all the colors and the powder and everything. You know, I guess these guys are dressed up nicely. The other guys in the other tribes weren't dressed up so nicely, but I guess these guys are wearing like whatever their traditional garb is, which is good. It's just like, I didn't mean to say they were wearing their white undies earlier. It's just like sometimes some of those working men with whatever their like lower togas are called, like it didn't seem equal to what the women had to wear. But here, I guess it is a little equal. Not still fully equal. These guys are still showing a lot more skin than those ladies are, but like, I don't know, who am I to judge on that sort of thing? How old are these girls? Like, obviously we're watching like some form of like mating ritual. I'm thinking these girls look like 14 or 15. I don't know. I guess that's probably the right age for these girls to be, I don't know, starting to talk to boys. I don't know how things work in India, but like, I'm curious, like, are these women being like courted as wives already? And like, how old are these guys? You know, I guess these guys look pretty much the same age too. I'm trying to learn as much as possible. What's the proper age to court an Indian wife? Please let me know in the comments.
In the Nilgiris, famed blue mountains of South India.
Famed blue mountains of South India. All right, that's interesting. We have blue mountains here in the U.S. too, but I don't think they're the same.
Mountains of South India live the Todas.
It sounds like he said tortoise to me. The tortoise. Okay, that's what I'm going with. I'm sorry. Again, I'm sorry. I'm mispronouncing it. If I even just had the spelling, I might be better at pronouncing it. But because I'm just going off of what I heard him say, it's tough. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to everyone. I'm sorry to this whole tribe. However many millions of people are in this tribe. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry I didn't know how to say your name.
A remarkably handsome race.
That's a very interesting note. A remarkably handsome race. I mean, these guys actually are kind of handsome. They look like, I don't want to say they look like white dudes, but their hair just looks like how white guys wear their hair. I don't know. And their beards. That's funny though. Again, it's really interesting whenever people attribute like one specific quality to a whole tribe. Like, yes, all the men in this tribe are really handsome. Like, what a weird thing to say about a whole people, you know? And again, that implies that there's a whole other tribe out there just made up of like really ugly people. And I bet that's the tribe that everyone like hates.
Toda villages called munds usually enjoy a picturesque setting. The shape of their huts is unusual.
Hang on, so what's going on here? So these guys are showing up and these women are coming to like tickle their feet or something? I imagine that's not what they're doing, but like, I don't know. It seems silly what they're doing no matter what. I guess it'll probably tell us what they're doing. I'm already curious.
Also unusual is the female form of greeting the elders.
They are tickling their feet. No way. They're just giving them little finger tickles on their feet. That's so weird. That must be like, I don't know, a dominance thing, if I will say so. Like, to have the woman come up to you and touch the bottom of your foot after you've been walking in the dirty jungle all day, like, that's a dominance thing for sure. The masculine urge to have your wife touch your foot as you arrive in the village, you know? Like, what? But again, what's so interesting is like that's only the tradition for this like one tribe in this one part of India. You know, like that's not everywhere in India. That's just these few guys here doing that. You know, like that's what's so fascinating about it. Like it's a very specific tradition that only exists among these like very specific people. Very interesting.
The male Toda greeting is a friendly smile.
I like that. Like no one has to touch each other's feet when it's just dudes. It's just smiles all around, you know?
No one knows.
These guys do look like white guys. Like, I know Indian people are technically, like, Caucasian and everything, but, like, these guys actually look like my grandpa. Maybe that's the tribe, though. Maybe that's the whole point. Oh, that'd be so weird if the only white tribe in India are, like, feet touchers at the same time. I guess they do look Indian as well. That's what's so interesting about the tribes, though, is that they are, like, literally different ethnic groups as well. Like, they're not just speaking a different sort of weird language. They're actually, like, a full other group of people with their own history and everything. That's why I find it fascinating when like I look like one group of Indian natives and not like another group of Indian natives. It's very fascinating. I could be wrong. I could be like adding such a weird lens to it all, but I think it's interesting when I look like these guys, you know?
With certainty the origin of the Todas. The feminine hairstyle is most attractive and the result of much patience.
The feminine hairstyle is most attractive. So what is the feminine hairstyle? Is it just this girl like curling up her hair into long strands like this, or is there something more to it?
And labor. Winding sheets.
Because that kind of just looks like regular hair. I don't know. I don't know if that's a hairstyle. I guess it is a hairstyle. It's just, seems like a very simple hairstyle.
Called putkulis, which they wear, are beautifully embroidered. A tribute to...
See, I guess they're all doing the same sort of strand twirling with their hair, though. That's interesting, I guess. See, that's so fascinating. Like, even the way they do their hair, like, is different than the next village over, you know? Like, that's so interesting.
Their artistic sense.
That's probably the most interesting thing. For some of these tribes, it's probably like literally just one reason why. You know, like some girl did that with her hair like the first day this tribe was ever settled. And that's why these women have done it ever since. You know, like there's a story behind why they do everything. I don't know if they actually know the literal historical reasons why anymore. Like this tradition could be so old that they've actually forgotten why they do it. But like, it's just the fact that they do it, you know, the fact that they have this tradition that's been going for so long that they've forgotten why they do it is so interesting. Like the fact that they actually have something like that, you know? And just for their hair, like they have that for literally every aspect of their whole lives. Like, why do we build houses like this? Well, somebody did it like that like 2,000 years ago and we haven't changed, you know? Like, why do we do our hair like this? Because some girl did that 2,000 years ago and we haven't changed, you know? Like, that's just very interesting.
Milking and the making of dairy products are duties which only the men perform.
Milking and the making of dairy products is a specifically manly job in this culture. That's interesting. I don't really know if there's a gendered aspect to dairy production here in America. It feels like kind of a manly thing, but also it does sort of feel womanly too. I guess milking a cow, probably pretty womanly to milk a cow. I feel like there is no gendered aspect, but that's probably just because I don't work on a farm. I wonder if it's the same way in the rest of India. Like, do only men take care of dairy in all of India? Probably not, if we're only learning about this specific tribe. Also interesting that they're working with cows. I thought people didn't like working with cows. Maybe they don't like eating cows. Maybe they're fine with drinking milk, though.
These conical structures, known as Todas.
So hang on, so if they're milking cows, do they have cheese? Because I feel like that's one thing that like Indian cuisine just like does not have is cheese. Like as many times as I've eaten at an Indian restaurant, I've never seen cheese once in my life. So I feel like they don't have cheese in India, not like, in their traditions anyway. So I'm curious about that. That might be the most American question ever, though. Do Indian people have cheese?
Peoples serve a dual purpose as temple and dairy.
I guess I understand the masculine aspect of dairy farming because, like, you do have to be able to handle, like, a cow. And I don't want to say women can't handle cows or anything. It's just a cow is a very strong animal. Like, the fact that even strong men can handle a cow is impressive. I would not say that every single person can work with a cow. I think you'd have to be, like, a strong, capable person to do that. But I don't know. Again, women can do that, too. I don't know.
On the eastern frontiers of India, in the lovely Assam Hills, live the
eastern front of India. All right, so we're all the way east now. This is interesting. Yeah, see, this is what I'm saying. So this tribe does not look like me at all. This tribe looks more traditionally East Asian rather than Indian. That's what we're going for here, which is very interesting. Again, like that's what makes India so fascinating, is that there's like all sorts of different people in India. And it's so cool. Like they have their own little headdresses and little pom-poms on their hats and everything. Like every single tradition comes from a different story that these people encountered at one point in their history. Like that's what makes all their little different idiosyncrasies so interesting, I think. It's just like every single thing has a reason and a purpose behind it that is probably 1,000 years old at this point, if not older.
Our Prime Minister, when he visited them recently, stated that it was the government's policy.
Dan, look at all these people. Yeah, these are some straight up, this is what, 1953? These are people who never, ever considered themselves Indian before the formation of the country of India. You know what I'm saying? Like, these people think of themselves as different than the rest of the people in India, I have to imagine. I don't want to prescribe that to them without them supporting that, but like I have to imagine that these people did not think they were the same tribe as everyone else in India. Like these are very discernibly a different ethnic group, which is very cool. Again, just like very interesting that there are just different groups like this all over India. I mean, not specifically like this all over India, but different groups all over India,
To encourage the Nagas to develop according to their own traditions and culture.
Now what I'm starting to wonder is like how much of these old cultures still exists. Like have these traditions been preserved all the way into the modern day, or have they kind of been swept under the rug through industrialization and that sort of thing? Like if I'm comparing these people to like the Native American people, well, the Native American people had their cultures completely eradicated. So did the same thing eventually happen to all these Native people, or did they manage to hang on to some of their traditions and culture? I'm curious about that too. I don't think we're going to go into that at all. Again, this is very early in the history of India as a country, not India as a civilization, but as a country, very early in India's history. So we can't really say for sure, based on what we're watching, whether or not these people actually ended up receiving good treatment or not. But a very good question to be asking, I think.
The Constitution makes special provisions for the scheduled areas of Assam.
Huh, that's interesting. So their constitution makes special provisions for these guys? I wonder why specifically these sorts of tribes got special provisions.
Schools are part of the social welfare scheme for all these groups.
Yeah, you know what? I guess I didn't even mention what languages all these people speak. Like I have to imagine that it's different than Hindi. You know, I have to imagine each one of these groups just has their own language, but I guess they just didn't mention that at all. But, you know, another thing to keep in the back of your mind is that all of these people cannot communicate with each other. Or they can, but only barely, you know?
An important item in the curriculum is the training in local handicrafts.
This is actually so funny to see them in school learning how to, like, sew. Like, yeah, like, I don't know. Here in America, everyone complains about schools not teaching you, like, real life skills. Well, here's Indian schools in 1953 teaching these kids the exact skills they'll need for the rest of their lives, you know? So long as they wanted to work in a sweatshop their whole lives, you know? Like, that's the trade-off, I guess. Like, school will teach you the skills so long as the skills aren't that good.
The eradication of illiteracy is a part of the program.
The eradication of illiteracy is part of the program. That's it. I don't know. It's so interesting that, like, I guess it looks like, at least from my perspective, it actually looks like the Indian government invested a significant amount of money and energy into bringing these native people into their country, or at least making them feel comfortable in the country of India. Again, that could be the propagandist talking. I could be drinking it all up right now, but, like, at least from what I'm watching, it seems like India made an effort to accommodate these native people, or these original inhabitants. I don't know what to call them, but, like, whatever. You know, you understand what I'm saying.
Such education will make them aware of their rights. Among them, the right to vote.
See, that's so interesting too, that even back then, without, like, even an understanding of this nation, like, these native people were still allowed to vote and were, like, encouraged to vote. Like, that's so fascinating to me. I don't know the history of Native American people voting in America. Like, I can only imagine that is a history, like, fraught with, like, all sorts of abuses and whatever. So it's just so fascinating to see India take this pretty much the same exact problem and just do a completely different solution with it. It's impressive. Again, this could be propaganda, though. Like, this could just be tricking me into thinking India is, like, really awesome when it really wasn't. But, like, I have no other knowledge in my brain about India to argue against that, you know? So, like, I really have no choice but to drink the propaganda on this one. Maybe by the end of this channel's run, I'll be able to disagree. But for now, I'm drinking it. I'm drinking it 100%.
More roads are planned so that distant areas can be readily reached by mobile units that will administer to the needs of these people. Their own heritage will be fully encouraged and markets found for local crafts.
Their own heritage will be encouraged. See, again, like, it's so amazing that they had the forethought to even, like, make that an important note on their, you know, agenda. Or, like, you know, even if this is propaganda and they didn't really do that, like, even the fact that they said it out loud shows that they, like, understood that that should be the thing that they're doing, you know? Like, the fact that they know the right direction to be going in, and it seems like they're going in that right direction. It seems obvious that these people, I don't know, were cared for at least partially by the government of India. This could all be lies, for all I know. I like to think it's not. I like to think that these programs are, like, 100% genuine. That's part of the reason why I like watching this Indian stuff, is because it just seems so distant from, like, all the negativity of, like, the Western world. India just seems like its own little world. And, like, I don't know, like, it could be, like, completely free of, like, all the negative aspects that are present in, like, the Western world. It could not be, obviously. Like, I assume that, like, things are more complex than they seem. I like to think that India is this, like, happy and, like, cohesive still. Again, I've never been, so I have no idea if any of this is even accurate.
Thus, these units constitute some of the more fascinating facets of the vast mosaic that is India. Their futures closely interwoven with that of the rest of India.
See, that's interesting too. Their futures interwoven with the rest of India. I guess that is a really good outlook, right? Like, if there are so many different native groups in this country, then the only way that you can actually ensure that the country of India will be united is if you get every single different tribe to sign up for it. You know, like, the second one group of people, like, resists and succeed at resisting, then you'll get other groups of people resisting. So you really do need to lock down as early as possible the allegiance of all these little tribes, which I guess puts a sort of different perspective on the reason behind the making of this. But again, very, very good nation building going on right here. Very good establishing a clause for unity amongst your people. Like, oh, India ensures all of your tribes get your rights equally and don't, lose your culture or whatever. Like that is how you win over a full country of people. And I think they did it very well. And I think that shows in the modern country of India. You don't really hear about like, oh, this tribe of 2 million people like want a separatist movement. I mean, now that I say that, that's probably true, though. I bet there are separatist movements within India, but like, I don't hear about it. At least from the outside, India seems cohesive, even with all of its diversity. And I think that alone is a very impressive accomplishment. So you know what? Shout out to India. Shout out to the country of India today for accomplishing that,
They are our original inhabitants.
They are our original inhabitants. So if these people are the original inhabitants, then like, what are most Indians? That's my question too. Like, when did Indian people get to India? If Indians aren't the original inhabitants, then who are they? Like, like when did they get there? Like I know the Proto-Indo-Europeans, the Indo-Europeans or whatever. Who is the real Indian? If these guys are like other sort of Indians, then who are the real Indians? Again, that's a weird sort of implication of this kind of language, I guess.
Their welfare should come first in our regard.
They should come first in our regard. What's this flag that's flying back here? This looks like a straight up American Stars and Stripes right here behind them. Right? Like, look at the white and red stripes. It looks like a U.S. flag. I would think it would be so funny if there was a U.S. flag randomly flying for this tribe. Ah, that's the end. We don't get to see the flag. Dang. Oh, you know what's so funny though? Usually at the end of these Indian programs, they just say the end. But here they actually have it in Hindi or Sanskrit, whatever the written form of the Indian language is. Like they actually have the end written in Hindi, I imagine. If there's any Indian viewers who knows what that flag is, let me know in the comments too. But all right, I think, yeah, we're done. So that was very interesting. I think that pretty much was what I asked for. We got a good little look at a few tribes. We didn't look at too many tribes. We just looked at a handful of them, and we actually got to learn like one unique, interesting thing about each of them, if not more. Obviously, hopefully more, but like just to have like an image in my mind for each one of them and how they all look different from one another. Like there's the tribe of Indians that look like they're from Africa. There's a tribe of Indians that look like they're from Europe, and there's a tribe of Indians who look like they're from Asia. Like there's all sorts of different people in India, and I guess that's the big lesson to learn from this, is that like India is just a wildly diverse place that is like almost incomprehensible to an American like me. Yeah, every single tribe seems to have their own unique cultures and traditions too. Like it very much is like a fully cultured place. Like every single tribe has their own traditions. It's not like there's a group of people who just have like no songs or nothing to dance to or anything, like every single group has their own songs, their own drums, their own dresses, their own dances, their own everything. Like that's fascinating. Their own way of saying hello to men by touching their feet, like all sorts of things. Yeah, overall, very enjoyable. I'd say I learned a lot. I'm glad we learned that. I hope there are some Indian viewers who learned something new from watching this too. I hope this is not just like the Western world learning about Indian tribes for the first time. I hope there's some Indian people being like, what? There's people like that who live in our country, like, because that's how amazing India really is like you could live in this country your whole life and never know that people like this lived like in the next valley over from you. So like, I really hope that would be the mark of like a truly impressive video if Indian people themselves learned something new. So again, let me know in the comments, my Indian audience, like if you learned anything new, if you guys learned anything new. And if you enjoyed this and would like to help support what I do here, feel free to head on over to the Internet Archive and give them a donation. The Internet Archive is where I get all these old programs from, even these Indian ones, and so they deserve all the donations or all the support that you guys have for me. So if you want to support what I do, again, the Internet Archive, the link is in the description. Give them a donation. Like, they deserve it. They really do. And with that, I think we're ready to cut to black.